I've heard ABA is abusive. How do I know if it's the right treatment for my child? This topic I feel very passionately about, and it's hard for me to discuss because I know the science of ABA and I feel so strongly about how much good the science can do for our society at large, including all children diagnosed with autism. So I have to try to come at this from a very objective place, understanding that my experience with the science of applied behavior analysis is not the experience that everybody has had. Applied behavior analysis, or ABA, is a very young science when you think about different sciences in the world and how long they've been around. B.F. Skinner started to conduct some of the first behavioral research using rats and pigeons in the 1930s. In the early 1960s, Ivar Lovaas conducted one of the first sort of seminal research articles using ABA to treat children with autism. The results of that Ivar Lovaas study in the 60s is still used today to sort of cite and justify recommendations for children with autism that are receiving ABA services. However, there is a dark history to some of the science of ABA, and it deserves to be acknowledged and discussed. In that Ivar Lovaas study, the children that were in the experimental group, so the group that was receiving an ABA treatment, were subject to hand slaps, so slaps on the hand, when they engaged in self-injurious behavior. In the 1980s, there was a research article conducted that essentially used behavior modification to treat homosexuality, which absolutely makes me shudder. It's disgusting, and we know that because science is always evolving, and that's the thing that that people sometimes fail to understand, is that what was done many years ago does not necessarily mean that's what's being done today, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole science should be thrown out because of some bad choices that were made in its infancy. So, I think we can all acknowledge now that the practice of using leeches to suck the blood of sick patients does nothing to help those patients. In fact, it could be harmful, but this was a standard practice in the field of medicine hundreds of years ago. We don't throw out the whole field of medicine because this practice now is known to be abusive. We say, we've evolved, we've grown, we've conducted research, we understand more, and that's not a practice that anybody is using these days. And the evolution of the field of science is so much more profoundly beneficial because we have done this research and understanding. So I will say this, I have been working in the field of ABA since 2002, so more than 20 years at this point. And there were absolutely things that I was asked to do when I was implementing programming, instructed by another BCBA, that I wouldn't do now. I think we can all acknowledge it wasn't the best way to approach treating a specific problem. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're still doing that today. It means that 20 years ago, when we didn't know as much and we didn't have as much research on our side, some of the practices that were standard then are not the practices that are standard now. So not only has the science of ABA evolved and grown and matured and learned new things, but all of the practitioners that are in our field are doing that as well. I continue to learn. I continue to read new things and incorporate new practices. I have evolved my practice as a clinician, as are other BCBAs working in our field. The governing board that sort of governs over all BCBAs is called the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, or the BACB. And 20 years ago, there wasn't any sort of ethical guideline in place for BCBAs. The BCBA certification in and of itself is a relatively new certification. So there were behavior analysts practicing 50 years ago that didn't have a BCBA because that wasn't a thing yet. So in the small amount of time since B.F. Skinner started in the 1930s, there's been a lot that's gone on to change and evolve, hold us accountable, hold the science accountable, and we now have a full ethical code that guides all of our decision making as behavior analysts. And as is the case with the very unique, beautiful individuals that have autism, the types of treatment, the types of things that are going to work for each individual person is going to be unique to that person. There isn't a one-size-fits-all practice for every single person with autism because people with autism are so very different. The people that are speaking the loudest about ABA being abusive are often adults with autism that I either underwent some ABA treatment when they were children, or even I've read some people who are autistic adults who never actually did any ABA treatment themselves, but they know of other people who have undergone ABA treatment and therefore feel that the treatment was abusive. And my argument is not that they are wrong. My argument is simply that ABA as a science has evolved over the last 20 years. Since I've been in practice, it's evolved over the last 60 years, the last 100 years. There's so much that has changed. So autistic adults that are speaking very loudly about having undergone ABA treatment that was abusive may have undergone ABA treatment that was abusive. I am not here to say that they are wrong or that they didn't undergo treatment that was abusive. I'm simply saying that the ABA of today is not the ABA of 20 years ago. The benefit that can be gained for an autistic child undergoing ABA treatment far outweigh the potential risks that they may incur. And this is especially true if parents continue to be educated and informed and on top of their child's ABA treatment, knowing every step of the way what their child is doing, how the treatment looks, and what best practices are for the type of treatment that their child is receiving. Many of the most vocal autistic adults in terms of decrying ABA treatment are highly vocal and independent and living on their own. And though I have worked with autistic people like that, the vast majority of autistic children that are receiving ABA services do not have those benefits. They may be non-vocal or non-verbal. They may be very self-injurious. They may not be able to be independent. Their family may not be able to take them out into the community because they don't have a handle on their behavior, and their behavior could be dangerous to themselves or to other people in the community. These children and these families are suffering greatly as a result of the diagnosis of autism, and ABA treatment can be profound for these families. I have worked with hundreds of children in my time in the field of ABA, and I can't tell you how many kids light up and smile when their technician arrives at the home, or that laugh throughout their session because they're having so much fun, that give high fives and fist bumps when it's time for the session to be over, that say, "I'll miss you, I'll see you when you come next." There's such a love between some of the children and their technicians that work with them. These are not children that are being abused by ABA treatment. These are children who are benefiting greatly and have very positive relationships with the people that are coming into their home and providing them this treatment. These children are receiving a treatment that is giving them the best possible chance for success as an independent human being in life. These families are benefiting by being able to take their children out into the community and give them new experiences, taking them to new places, letting them meet new people, doing new activities because they have gained so much through their ABA treatment. So to those that say that ABA treatment is abusive, speak your truth. It is yours to speak. But please do not assume that your truth extends to everybody else who is also receiving that type of treatment. Parents, learn what to expect from an ABA program. Learn what to demand from an ABA program to assure that your child's ABA treatment is the best quality treatment, that it is effective, that your children are making progress, and that they are happy and enjoying the process along the way. So let's allow space in the autism world for all voices, for voices of those who have been negatively impacted by ABA, for voices of people who have been involved in ABA and throughout the evolution and that are a part of bringing the field, the science, into modern day. Let's allow room for the voices of families who have been impacted by ABA in a positive or a negative way. Let's allow room for voices of children who have had really positive experiences in their ABA treatment and that have made profound improvements through the course of their treatment. Everybody deserves to have a voice. There's no one voice that's more important or should be more loud than the others. Let's all work together to make this powerful science something that can benefit everybody.